right, good afternoon, class. So last class, you should have received a packet from the substitute. The packet looks a little bit like this. This is what you should have received last class. If you were not here last class, please see the substitute to get this packet. This is what we'll be using to review for the midterm exam that is coming up next month. So as we discussed in class, this midterm is given by the district to everyone that is taking Algebra 1. So everyone that is taking Algebra 1 will be taking the exact same exam. Okay, so with that said, the district provided us with a review, and we're going to use this review to make sure that we have covered everything that's going to be on this exam. So you should have completed numbers 1 through 4, 7, 8, 12, 13, 22, 25, and 30. All right, at any time, if I'm moving too fast, feel free to pause the video. Let's get started. So we are doing the exam review. So we are going to solve the equations. So in any equation, if it asks you to solve, all that means is that you're just solving for the variable. So for example, if I have 3t plus 6 equals 6 plus 3 times t minus 1. All right, so in this case, we're going to do the distributive property first, because in any equation, you always have to get rid of the parentheses first. So let's do that. So we'll distribute 3 to everything that's inside of the parentheses, and here we're going to do the same thing. So that means we'll have 3t plus 18 equals 6 plus 3t minus 3. All right, because 3 times t gives me 3t, 3 times 6 gives me 18. Bring down the 6. 3 times t gives me 3t. 3 times negative 1 gives me negative 3. All right, so now we're going to combine like terms on each side of the parentheses, on each side of the equal sign. So here we do not have like terms. This one has a variable of t, this one does not. Here we have two constants, 3 and negative 3. Three t plus 18 equals 6 minus 3 is a positive 3. Okay, so now we'll get both of our variables on the same side of the equal sign. Then here, minus 18, minus 18. All right, so in this case, we're dividing each side by 0, which will give our answer 0. All right, but let's say when we subtract it, instead of getting 0, we got 3t. So in this case, you divide both sides by 3. And then t would have been negative 5. And that would have been your final answer. So that's how you solve for a variable. So with that information, you should be able to do numbers 10, A, and B. Remember, if I'm moving too fast, you can always pause the video. And that also covers number 14. Okay, so let's move on. All right, so graphing inequalities or a solution set. So whenever you're graphing an inequality or a solution set, an inequality is always on a line that looks like this. If the circle is closed, it will look like this. Open circle if it's less than or greater than. So that's the basic of what you need to know in order to graph a solution set. If it has this line underneath, that bubble is going to be closed. If it doesn't have the line underneath, that bubble will be open. Okay, so let's say that you received an example that looks like this. X plus 1/4 is greater than 1/6. Okay, so in this case, the only time that you can combine fractions is if that bottom number is the same, which means you need to know what is its least common multiple. All right, so the least common multiple of 4, we have 4, 8, 12, and so forth. Multiples of 6, 6, 12, 18, and so on. So the smallest number they have in common is 12. All right, so that means that we need to change 1/4 and 1/6 to 12. We have 1/4 and we have 1/6. So my new denominator is going to be 12. So whenever you're trying to find equivalent fractions, it's always whatever you multiply the bottom by, you multiply the top by. So 4 times 3 is 12. 1 times 3 is 3. Then for your next fraction, 1/6. All right, so 6 times 2 is 12. 1 times 2 is 2. So now we have a new equation. So we have x plus, what's the equivalent fraction of 1/4? That'll be 3/12. It's greater than, what's the equivalent fraction of 1/6? 2/12. All right, so now we will get both fractions on the same side. So we'll subtract 3/12 from both sides. Now, whenever you subtract fractions, they have to have the same denominator. And you only subtract the top. Subtract the top, keep the bottom. All right, so 2/12 minus 3/12 will give you negative 1 over 12. So now we have x is greater than negative 1 over 12. All right, so how do we put this on the lines? All right, so we always have 0 in the middle. Negatives are always to the left. Positives are always to the right. So if my x is greater